गलन्ति गाङ्गेयं विमलतरगीतैव महतो नगाधीशात् श्रीमद्रमणमुनिरूपा जनिमती पदो वाणीरूपात् गणपतिकवेर्भक्तहृदयं समुद्रं संयाति प्रबलमलहारिण्यनुपदम्।
श्रीरमणगीता द्वादशोऽध्यायः। शक्तिविचारः। एकोनविंशे दिवसे भारद्वाजो महामनाः कपालीकृतिशुच्यायानपृच्छद्रमणं गुरुम्। कपाली उवाच। विषयी विषयो वृत्तिः इतीदं भगवंस्त्रिकं ज्ञानिनां पामराणां च लोकयात्रासु दृश्यते। अधकेन विशेषेण ज्ञानी पामरतोऽधिकः इमं मे नाथ सन्देहं निवर्तयितुमर्हसि। श्रीभगवान् उवाच। अभिन्नो विषयी यस्य स्वरूपान् मनुजर्षभा व्यापारविषयो भातः तस्य अभिन्नौ स्वरूपतः। विभिन्नो विषयी यस्य स्वरूपादभिमानिनः व्यापारविषयो भात तस्य भिन्नौ स्वरूपतः। भेदाभासे विजानाति ज्ञान्यभेदं तु तात्विकम्। भेदाभासवशं गत्वा पामरस्तु विभिद्यते। कपाली उवाच। नाथ यस्मिन्निमे भेदा भासन्ते त्रिपुटीमयाः शक्तिमद्वा स्वरूपं तद् उदाहो शक्तिवर्जितम्। श्रीभगवान् उवाच। वत्स यस्मिन्निमे भेदा भासन्ते त्रिपुटीमयाः सर्वशक्तं स्वरूपं तद् आहुर्वेदान्तवेदिनः। कपाली उवाच। ईश्वरस्य तु या शक्तिः गीता वेदान्तवेदिभिः अस्ति वा चलनं तस्यामाहोऽस्मिन्नाथ नास्ति वा। श्रीभगवान् उवाच। शक्तेः सञ्चलनादेव लोकानां तातसम्भवः चलनस्याश्रयो वस्तु न सञ्चलति कर्हिचित्। अचलस्य तु यच्छक्तेः चलनं लोककारणं तामेवाचक्षते मायामनिर्वाच्यां विपक्षितः। चञ्चलत्वं विषयिणो यदार्थम् इव भासते चलनं न नरश्रेष्ठ स्वरूपस्य तु वस्तुतः। ईश्वरस्य च शक्तेश्च भेदो दृष्टिनिमित्तकः मिथुनं त्विदमेकं स्यात् दृष्टिश्चेदुपसंहृता। कपाली उवाच। व्यापार ईश्वरस्यायं दृश्यब्रह्माण्डकोटिकृत् नित्यः किम् अथवा नित्यो भगवान् वक्तुमर्हति। श्रीभगवान् उवाच। निजया परया शक्त्या चलन्नप्यचलः परः केवलं मुनिसंवेद्यं रहस्यमिदमुत्तमम्। चलत्वमेव व्यापारो व्यापारः शक्तिरुच्यते। शक्त्या सर्वम् इदं दृश्यं ससर्ज परमः पुमान्। व्यापारस्तु प्रवृत्तिश्च निवृत्तिः इति च द्विधा। निवृत्तिस्था यत्र सर्वम् आत्मैवाभूदिति श्रुतिः। नानात्वं द्वैतकालस्थं गम्यते सर्वमित्यतः। अभूदिति पदेनात्र व्यापार कोऽपि गम्यते। आत्मैवेति विनिर्देशाद्विशेषाणां समं ततः आत्मन्येवोपसंहारत् तज्जातानां प्रकीर्तितः। विना शक्तिं नरश्रेष्ठ स्वरूपं न प्रतीयते। व्यापार आश्रयश्चेति द्विनामा शक्तिरुच्यते। व्यापारो विश्वसर्गादि कार्यमुक्तं मनीषिभिः। आश्रयो द्विपदां श्रेष्ठ स्वरूपान्नातिरिच्यते स्वरूपमन्यसापेक्षं नैव सर्वात्मकत्वतः शक्तिं वृत्तिं स्वरूपं च य एवं वेद वेदसः वृत्तेरभावे तु सतो नानाभावो न सिद्ध्यति सत्ता शक्त्यतिरिक्ता चेद् वृत्तेर्नैव समुद्भवः यदि कालेन भविता जगतः प्रलयो महान् अभेदेन स्वरूपेयं व्यापारो लीनवद्भवेत् सर्वोऽपि व्यवहारोऽयं न भवेच्छक्तिमन्तरा न सृष्टिर्नापि विज्ञानं यदेतत् त्रिपुटीमयम् स्वरूपमाश्रयत्वेन व्यापारः सर्गकर्मणा नामभ्यामुच्यते द्वाभ्यां शक्तिरेका परात्परा लक्षणं चलनं येषां शक्तेस्तेषां तदाश्रयः यत्किञ्चित् परमं वस्तु वक्तव्यं स्यान्नरर्षभ तदेकं परमं वस्तु शक्तिम् एके प्रचक्षते स्वरूपं केऽपि विद्वांसो ब्रह्माण्ये पुरुषं परे वत्स सत्यं द्विधा गम्यं लक्षणेन च वस्तुतः लक्षणेनोच्यते सत्यं वस्तुतस्त्वनुभूयते तस्मात् स्वरूपविज्ञानं व्यापारेण च वस्तुतः ताटस्थ्येन च साक्षाच्च द्विविधं सम्प्रचक्षते स्वरूपमाश्रयं प्राहुर्व्यापारं तातलक्षणं वृत्त्या विज्ञाय तन्मूलम् आश्रये प्रतितिष्ठति स्वरूपं लक्षणोपेतं लक्षणं च स्वरूपवत् तादात्म्येनैव सम्बन्धस्त्वनयोः सम्प्रकीर्तितः तटस्थलक्षणेनैवं व्यापाराख्येन मारिषा यतो लक्ष्यं स्वरूपं स्यान्नित्यव्यापारवत्ततः व्यापारो वस्तुनो नान्यो यदि पश्यसि तत्त्वतः इदं तु भेदविज्ञानं सर्वं काल्पनिकं मतम् शक्त्युल्लासाह्वयासेयं सृष्टिः स्यादीश कल्पना कल्पनेयमतीता चेत् स्वरूपमवशिष्यते इति श्रीरमणगीतासु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीरमणान्तेवासिनो वासिष्ठस्य गणपतेरूपनिबन्धे शक्तिविचारो नाम द्वादशोऽध्यायः श्रीरमणगीता चैप्टर 12 on Shakti. On the 19th day, the high-minded Bharadvaja Kapali, great among the learned, questioned Guru Ramana, O Bhagavan, in the everyday life of both the Jnani and the Ajnani, one observes the triad, that is, subject, object, and cognition. By what special attribute then is Jnani superior to the ignorant one? O Lord, may you be pleased to clear this doubt of mine. Bhagavan, for one to whom the subject is not different from the self, the object and the cognition also do not appear different from the self. For one to whom, owing to attachment, the subject is different from the self, the object and the cognition too appear different from the self. Even in this seeming difference, the Jnani perceives the essential unity. The ignorant one, caught in the seeming difference, considers himself as separate. Kapali. Lord, that being in which these differences of triads appear, is it endowed with Shakti or devoid of Shakti. Bhagavan. That being wherein these differences of triads appear is said to be all powerful by those who know Vedanta. Kapali. That divine Shakti of which the Vedantins speak of, is it dynamic or static? Bhagavan. It is only because of the movement of Shakti that the worlds come into being, but the reality on which the movement is based never moves. That movement of Shakti, which is based on the immovable, that is, reality, and which is the cause of the world, the learned term indefinable Maya. This movement appears as if real to the subject. In reality, there is no movement in being. The seeming difference between Ishvara and Shakti arises from dualistic vision. If the vision is withdrawn into the source, the two become one. Kapali. Bhagavan, this activity of Ishvara, which is the cause of this vast universe, is it eternal or not? Please enlighten me. Bhagavan, though the Supreme moves because of his own Supreme Shakti, he in reality is unmoving. Only the sage can understand this profound mystery. Movement by itself is activity, and activity is called Shakti. The Supreme Person, through his Shakti, created all that we see. Activity is of two kinds: pravritti or manifestation, and nivritti or withdrawal. The Vedic text, where all this has become Atman itself, refers to nivritti. Thus, the word sarvam or all this refers to the many during dualistic vision. The word abhut, meaning has become, implies some sort of activity. The specific expression Atman itself implies that the multitude of diverse things born of it must in the end be withdrawn into the Atman. Without Shakti, being is not apprehended. Shakti has two names: Vyapara or activity, and Ashraya or ground. The learned say that work such as the creation, sustenance, and dissolution of the universe is Vyapara or activity. Ashraya, on the other hand, is nothing other than being. Because being is itself everything, it depends on nothing else. He who understands Shakti as both activity and ground, he alone understands. He alone knows. In the absence of activity, there can be no diversity for Sat or being. If Satta or nature of being be other than Shakti, then no activity can ever rise. If, in course of time, the great dissolution of the universe or pralaya should occur, this activity merges, as it were, into being without any difference. Without Shakti, none of this activity can ever be. Neither creation nor cognition, consisting of the triad, that is, subject, object, and cognition, can ever be. The one transcendent Shakti is known by two names, that is, being as ground and activity because of the work of creation. To those who consider movement alone to be the mark of Shakti, one has to point out that there exists some supreme reality acting as the ground. That sole supreme reality is known as Shakti, as being, as Brahman, or as supreme being or person. There are two ways in which truth is apprehended. It is defined in terms of its characteristics, and it is directly experienced as reality. Thus, knowledge of being can be had in two ways: through its activity or by experiencing it as such, that is, indirectly through its attributes or directly by being one with it. Being is said to be the ground and activity its attribute. By understanding the source of activity through its movement, one gets firmly established in the ground or being, because the source of activity is nothing but the being or the ground. Being goes with attributes and attributes go with being. The relation between the two, it is said, is one of identity. As being is apprehended only by its attribute, namely activity, it is eternally active. Activity is not other than being, if you see indeed. All this knowledge of difference is but imaginary. This creation called the sport of Shakti is only an idea of Ishvara. If the idea is transcended, being alone remains. This is the 12th chapter entitled On Shakti in Sri Ramana Gita, the science of Brahman and the scripture of yoga, composed by Sri Ramana Bhagavan's disciple Vasishtha Ganapati Muni.